What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're working on our collaborative Rube Goldberg machine, and the topic for today is trying to get some semblance of runtime configuration. So the project is that we are running this like simulation, right? You can see it on the screen. There are a bunch of balls bouncing around. And the kind of like interesting part of the project is that each of these like four chambers that you're seeing are completely defined by WebAssembly modules. And the intent here is that the simulation as a whole doesn't really know what's going on. It only knows that there are balls and how to like maneuver them between chambers. But like the fact that there are platforms here, the simulation doesn't know about that. It's not like we have like a platform block and we've like put it in our module. It's like the module can do whatever it wants, and all the simulation knows is that the module said, "Hey, I need to move the ball in some way that is like unexpected to you." I mean, the idea is that because these things are like WebAssembly modules, they should be like fairly well sandboxed, and so we can kind of trust that if a user uploads a WebAssembly module that defines a chamber, then we can just run it on the server, right? And so like we run the physics on the server, we run this like long-term simulation, and then we copy paste the WebAssembly module to the client to do some rendering. You could do the whole thing client side, but I did want some semblance of like cohesion. Like if like 5 people open up the app, I want to see the same thing. If I close my browser and I open again, I want to see like a continuation of the same thing, like you would in real life if you were to like look at one of these Rube Goldberg machines. You walk away, you come back, it's like the same thing, right? And that allows us to maybe have some sort of like long-term effects, like maybe the balls pile up in one chamber until like some threshold is hit, stuff like that, right? And so right now we have this like 2x2 grid. We have it like hard coded that there are 2 chambers per row, and we also have this like problem where if the chambers are not like an even multiple of the number of chambers per row, then like some of our logic kind of falls over. We're kind of like hard coded to 20 balls right now. We have like no way to rearrange the chambers, so there's lots of things in here where it's like we have like a thing that kind of works, but like if we want to actually like configure that thing, it's kind of painful right now. And so the plan for today is just trying to like knock off some of those configurations. So the first one is that we need to support non multiples of the row size. So that's gonna be the first thing we do, is maybe like inject an empty chamber in the cases where it's not a multiple. Then I want to have like runtime configuration of chambers per row, runtime configuration of like the positions of chambers, runtime configuration of the number of balls, as well as like a runtime speed adjustment. Because there's another page on here where you can like upload a thing for testing, and if you're uploading one for testing here, probably you're like a developer of a module, and you might be like debugging some sort of physics thing, and so having like a slider in here to be able to like slow the whole thing down would be pretty nice. And yeah, I think that like that's enough. It's like enough individual things that we should take up like the whole 2 hours that we're aiming for. And hopefully they're simple enough that we don't go too far over. But that's the plan. That's the plan. So I think that is intro done, and we can do. Let's start on adding empty dummy chambers. So probably how do I want to test this? What's like the most straightforward thing to do here? I think maybe we reduce the number of balls and maybe slow it down, and then delete one of the chambers from our database. So maybe we just delete this chamber here and see kind of what happens. And then we can kind of start by seeing some sort of like degenerate behavior, and then we can fix it. So let's go maybe into our database. Which database am I using right now? I'm using TestDB. So SQLite browser, TestDB, DB. And let's just kind of like go in here and just like nuke a row. So chambers, can we just like delete this? Delete. Do I have to actually like write some SQL? What a pain in my... I don't want to write SQL. That's a lot of work. Does one of these buttons delete a row? Oh, hell yeah. I don't have to write SQL. Thank God. You know, who wants to do that? So now when I load this thing, we should see 3 chambers. Cool. And we should see... What? When we go like off the right edge here? That's kind of funny. Where are the balls going? Okay, so let's reduce the number of balls by changing a constant in the app and recompiling, as you do, which is something we want to fix today. So num balls here. Let's change to like 5 or something, and maybe let's slow down the simulation as well, which we also do by changing a constant in the app. Let's maybe do like 2 times slowdown. just to see. We want to be able to track where the fuck it's broken. Okay, so these guys, when they come down off the bottom here, are coming back in the top here, unexpected. And then how are they ever getting into this chamber? They're only getting here. He goes off the left. Oh, he comes back in the right at the top? No, he's coming. Oh, he's coming over here? Oh, I see. He's coming back in the corner of himself. Okay, so they get like stuck down here. I see. And that's because all of our wrapping logic just assumes two. So I think that if we were to just add an empty chamber here, then we should start seeing some reasonable behavior. So let's try that. Let's try that. So I guess we kind of want to like pad the number of chambers to match the number of the row. So here, our physics simulation, what happens here? We ask for whatever balls are in this given chamber, and then we run the chamber itself, the WebAssembly module, on those balls, and we say, do whatever the fuck you want to these things. And then we also apply collision between the balls in the chamber. So this applying collision we'll have to do, but like this we don't have to do, which is kind of odd, kind of surprising. So I guess kind of everything in this for loop gets factored out, I guess, other than this. And then we just run like one extra chamber down here. Maybe. Seems possible. Because yeah, I guess like it will make more sense if we yeah, I guess so. The other option is that we just continue iterating past the edge of the chamber IDs. And if we don't have a chamber, that kind of feels like it's less work, even though it's like not really as nicely abstracted. That does seem simpler. So we can go iter end is like max IDX, we'll call it, is self chambers items len. And then we need to round this up to the row length. So what this is like, we modulo this. How do you like I don't know if like the way I round up is like fucking stupid, but I always do this where I say we take the max this value, we modulo by the chambers per row, then we do chambers per row minus this, and then we modulo this by chambers per row again. This is what I always do, but it feels like a unnecessary number of operations. But hopefully the compiler just does that for me. So this is basically saying, hey, how far past how many items into this row are we? This subtraction makes it how many are left, and then this modulo says like if the number of left was an entire row, then like fuck that noise. So then we go. I guess this can turn into max IDX here, and we say max IDX plus equals this. Cool. And so now we iterate from 0 to max IDX. And here we're just going to say if chamber IDX is less than self chambers items len, we look at self chambers item self chambers items chamber IDX, and then we step that. That makes sense. I guess somewhere else, wherever we apply our chamber wrapping, we're going to want to do this like same calculation. So I guess we're going to do something like can we do like function padded padded num chambers, which takes in a num chambers and returns the U size, and we just do that like fucking whatever the fuck this was. Okay. So this is num chambers here. And it's, I guess we can kind of just return this in one statement. Which is maybe not the prettiest. So I guess, fine, we'll name stuff. So we'll call this, call IDX is equal to this, I guess, is a way we can call it. Column index is this. Then we can say, remaining calls in row is chambers per row minus call IDX, okay. Then we can say return num chambers plus remaining calls in row mod chambers per row. Okay, that feels at least somewhat more readable. Then up here we can say max IDX is padded num chambers, self chambers items len, boom, chillin, chillin, chillin. Okay, so this should just be fine now, but we have to make sure that the wrapping logic takes this into account as well. So basically we need to look for anyone that looks at self, chambers, items, len, which is these. It's here, this is related to wrappings. This is padded num chambers here. Padded num chambers from ball and chamber, right? So this basically just says how many chambers do I expect there to be, and this handles whether I think the thing's going from left, right, up, or down. Okay, cool. This is also padded num chambers. This is also padded num chambers. It pisses me off that the autocorrect like sees an S and is like, oh, I'll reuse that S. Oh, but it's fine. It's fine. And I think that's it. These ones, this is an index check, which is fine. This is, yeah, this is already using it, and then this is an index check as well. Everything else is wrapped. Okay. Okay, let's see if I refresh this now. Okay, so now the balls are in fact not wrapping stupidly, right? You can see this is going to go in here and he's going to fall into this, which is where it's supposed to be. But it's now when they go in here, they just disappear, right? We're not rendering balls that are in that empty chamber. So how do we want to handle that? I wonder why that's the case. So maybe we could look at a response here. So we kind of say, hey, we only have 3 chambers. And that's fine. So whoever is returning this just needs to pad this as well. Are you using anything for focus? I don't know what you mean by focus. Like, in order to help me to focus? Like drugs? Are you asking me if I take like Adderall? I'm not really sure what you mean. But if you explain further, maybe I can answer. You could also mean like window focus, in which case I mean alt tab focus drugs. No, I'm not taking any focus drugs. No. I just trick myself into thinking it's fun. It's the easiest fix. I don't know if you guys do this, but like it's kind of nice. The stream actually limits the amount that I can get like super into something, which is good because sometimes like you just like get so into something that you just like you wake up, you sit down, and you start on do working on something that you enjoy, and then like it's like 11 p.m. at night and you haven't eaten or stood up all day. You're like, that's not good. Like it's really bad. So it's like I almost want like I almost need like anti-focus drugs, but only sometimes. Okay, so I stream to force me to focus. It has the same effect as sitting in a cafe. That makes sense. That makes sense. I use the stream helps me in both ways. It helps me like have like one focused block, but it also prevents me from getting like too rabbit holed to the point where I like do this at the extent of it, like at the what's it called? At the at the cost of everything else. Okay, so when this guy is like serializing the balls, he's like looking at each chamber. So this comes from get chamber balls. And so this get chamber balls, I guess, just has to. Oh, this is get chamber balls for a specific chamber index. So here we're kind of iterating over the chambers themselves, but here we just want to do the same trick. Which kind of means that this feels like it should be like a pub function that's like num chambers. It does kind of feel that way. So then we can use it externally. And this can be self chambers items len. You're one of the fastest things people have seen who defines problems and implements the solution the fastest way. Well, I wouldn't say it's the fastest way. I just do I just do something. But I appreciate the compliment. I appreciate the compliment. I'm sure that I am leaving like I'm sure that I'm far from the optimal on everything you see me doing. Okay, so this is gonna be self num chambers now instead of this shit. And everywhere we're using padded num chambers, we can replace the self num chambers. Boom, boom. Okay. Now that that's public, we can go back to like the server code, and this guy can iterate from 0 to what the fuck is this thing called? Simulation.num chambers, like this. So it's going to iterate from 0 to num chambers. He has chamber index. And then here's going to say if chamber IDX is less than simulation chambers items len. This feels like a violation of abstraction. But that is fine, I guess. We might have to clean this up later. I mean, we already flagged this as like a fucking shit show of a chunk of code, so. We will come back to this. We can maybe even just say here, violation of abstraction. Seems fine. This kind of comes in here. And so now we kind of are in this state where we have anything that has a save associated with it is a chamber that is like WASM defined. Otherwise, we just won't try to run that chamber, which kind of makes sense. I don't really know. I feel like somebody's going to get mad that they try to get a chamber by some ID, but we could, if we return out of bounds, we can catch like a 404 in that case. Well, maybe we won't, because I don't think that we do anything intelligent, like try to. I think that we just like drop the connection. And if we just drop the connection, then we'll have a problem. What is it? But we do know, we do have num chambers. So the client calls num chambers to say, how many chambers are there? And we say 3. But maybe we need to know, the client needs to know the wrap width in order to do this. So I guess we just have it hard coded in our client right now that our wrap width is 2. And instead we should just ask for like chambers per row. And then we can kind of infer from the client with like the fact that there are empty chambers from this information. That seems reasonable to me. Let's kind of do something very similar to this. So this is chambers per row, chambers per row, chambers per row, chambers per row. And here we're just going to say simulation chambers per row, chambers per row. This just needs to be made public probably. Pubconst chambers per row. Chillin. And then we need to like, whoever is like URL parsing needs to be able to return this thing. So this is chambers per row, which is, I guess, going to live near num chambers. It's like a related concept. Chambers per row. This is the programmers equivalent to being approached at the gym and asking if they're natty. That's so funny. Yeah, are you on fucking Adderall? Is the fucking gamer version of are you on steroids? That's so funny. I've never thought of it that way. But it is that, you know, in the environments that I'm typically in, I do hear about Adderall a lot more than I hear about steroids. I'll say that much, which lines up. That's pretty funny. Okay, so that makes sense to me so far. So now we're gonna get, hopefully, in our response when we ask the simulation for like our balls split by chambers, we should get balls in the bottom right chamber, and we just won't know how to display them on the client yet. Um, fuck, it never compiles because I wrote num chamber instead of num chambers like a fucking dumbass. I think autocomplete fucks me on that one a lot. Okay, refresh. So now if I look in here and I look at the response, we do have some things in chamber index 3, which is good. We're just not displaying them. But we can figure it out. So I guess now we should spin up a second shell so that we can keep our server running while our editor is open. It's a hard life out here. And what are we in? We're in like index JavaScript. He starts like, for each chamber, he makes a chamber with a remote simulation. This remote simulation has like a chamber renderer that renders balls and chamber. Right, so this assumes that we have a WebAssembly module that he can call render on. And I guess, so I hate doing this, but we could do if chamber is not equal to null, right? We could do this, and then we can just pass in null, and then that might make things simpler. I mean, I hate APIs that look like this. I guess it kind of makes more sense. Maybe we can like split out like a second call to render balls and render chamber. And then we'll have like maybe like a clear. So, oh, we don't do clear though. It's up to the chamber to clear. Okay, so we'll say the render flow is we render the background, which is the chamber, then we render the balls on top. So this is just render chamber and render balls. Right, so we can kind of, the render chamber, does he need to take the balls in? No, he doesn't. So we can kind of just do this stuff in render chamber. This stuff is like a border around the thing, and I guess it's kind of okay for us to just not render that border, because like these are all supposed to be like one cohesive thing now. Do we think that we want borders on them? It kind of like defines the edge of chambers, which is nice probably for like you want to know that this person worked on this one. Yeah, okay. So we'll make a render border as well. What program languages do I use where I work? I mean, I'm not working right now, so these ones. But I work at, or I used to work a lot on C++, a little bit of Python, a little, like a very, very small amount of HTML JavaScript, like kind of like a C++'er's version of that, just to like get like web UIs up on firmware and stuff. A little bit of C, like Linux kernel stuff, a little bit of like microcontroller stuff, so pretty low level, mostly C++. But I guess like when I was doing like ML stuff, that's kind of more Python-y. You may have already answered this, but isn't it a tad bit slow to make a GET request every frame, then send the JSON back in text format? Yep, pretty bad. Wouldn't a WebSocket connection where the server broadcasts the new state every frame in a binary format be more efficient? I think probably what I'm going to end up doing. We might as well talk about this because I don't really feel like tight on time today. Maybe that will be a mistake for later, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like ask for an array of frame states at once, right? So each of these is like a JSON object containing like the number of balls, like the ball positions and stuff. And I'm going to say like, I want to request like, the last thing I got was at this timestamp, right? So each of these will have like a timestamp associated with them. And I'll just say, hey, could you give me everything since that timestamp? And then it'll give me all of them at once, and that'll help. And then I think probably on top of that, I think you're right that I probably will binary encode these things. And I was looking yesterday at like cap-in proto and like flat buffers. And I don't really know like if any of these things are gonna like fit nicely to Zig. It might make more sense for me to just like make a WebAssembly module that just like copy paste the struct onto the network. as long as like the WebAssembly and my server's endianness match up and like alignment match up, then maybe that's like just good enough. It's kind of funny. I think that in order for me to get the ball object in JavaScript, I think the flow is going to be like Zig serializes message pack is for this. I was looking at message pack as well. Zig goes to like bytes on the network, and then we go to like JavaScript that like gets this buffer, feeds this into WASM, which is just going to be like this again, which then spits out JSON, which then gets parsed into an object in JS. I think that this is the correct flow for how to get like a struct from Zig into JavaScript, which just seems fucking stupid. But I don't think that there's like any like the alternative is for me to implement like the serialization here and the deserialization here, which I don't really like. I like the idea of like it just kind of like being the same shit. It's just kind of funny. Just kind of funny. Okay, what we're doing? What do they do? Byte packing? Message pack is like kind of like JSON, but binary, right? So like the idea is like you have like no schema, but you have like it's not like strings and curly braces. And then flat buffers and Captain Proto are kind of more like we're going to set a schema so that if you agree in advance what the data types you're going to get are, you don't have to encode the information about like the structure of the data you're sending as part of the like over the network, because you've both pretty agreed on the same thing, which is kind of nice. Okay, so we wanted render border is this stuff, and I guess it kind of makes sense for us to just like make like get context also is just like we might as well, so we don't have to like type the same thing out every time. So CTX is equal to this get CTX like this. Kind of slap this here and here. Render chamber gets the chamber stuff. Render balls gets the ball stuff. Okay. So this guy needs balls. He needs some balls. He's got to man up. Okay. Okay. Now, I guess it is reasonable here to make like a render empty chamber, which is going to take in balls, and he's just going to call like render border followed by render chamber. I guess it should go this way: render chamber, render border, render balls. So it's gonna. Oh, so there's no chamber here. It's just gonna render the border, render the balls. More microplastic. What are you talking about? Sorry, I know it's what the what? Are you saying that you want me to eat some microplastics for you? I do think that eating plastic is like a funny little bit. I was at a party a few weeks ago and I was like, my friend took a bite out of his block of styrofoam and I was like, yo, let me hit that. And then he passed to me and I took a bite out of it too. I think it's funny to eat plastic. That's just like a funny little bit. But I don't know if that's certainly not what you mean. I just don't know what you could mean. God, I'm 30. I shouldn't fucking be 30 and eating styrofoam, but it's funny. It's funny. Okay, render populated chamber, we'll call it. He's gonna take in balls and chamber, and he's gonna do the same thing here, but just with one more function call. Microplastic is the balls. Oh, okay. If you say so. Okay. So now, wherever the fuck we were calling render before, this is just gonna be like render populated. Not gonna want to try styrofoam. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So how are we gonna distinguish between if this thing is so this class is called remote simulation, which I guess is this is a rendering of a single chamber. So this just kind of feels like this should be called remote chamber, maybe. And then I guess we are just going to have like an empty chamber as well. So this is gonna be called like empty chamber. And he's probably gonna do something that's like kind of similar, but I don't really know what yet. So I'm just gonna copy paste the whole thing and then just start deleting shit. So he does need his ID because he needs to know which balls to look at. He doesn't have a chamber, and he probably doesn't need chamber height, to be honest. So this goes away. This probably stays. This const chambers is like where we're putting the chambers in, and this is the parent. The canvas has to be done. Oh, and he does need the chamber height as well. So we'll do this. Okay. Chamber renderer, chambers, chamber height. Okay. Then we kind of like scratch all this shit. None of this matters. And then here, we fetch a simulation. This is fucking stupid, by the way. We fetch the simulation state for every single canvas, which is just like fucking dumb. And we should fix that, but we're not going to right now. But we will eventually. One day. All of the chambers are also kind of rendered independently, which is also kind of fucking stupid. But again, we'll fix that some other time. In fact, let's write it in our little handy dandy to do that we added today. So this is going to be only fetch simulation state once per frame. Because this is fucking stupid. Okay, so he doesn't need to load the chamber because there's no chamber to load. He is going to say, not render here, he's going to say render empty chamber with just the balls. And then this guy has to say render populated chamber. Chamber. Cool, that makes sense. And then here, we just, we say this is the number of chambers that we have. And then here we just need to pad this with the chambers per row. So we can say chambers per row response is chambers per row. Chambers per row is the chambers per row response JSON. And then how do we do this where if we want to fold these all together? We can like do all of these requests at once, which now that there's 3 of them, I kind of want to. No, we'll do that later, but we'll put a fix me here. Do all requests at same time. Because this is silly. It's silly to do it serially when we don't have to. And it's if I remember, it's something like promise all, and then you like put all of your promises in here, and then you like resolve them or something. But I just don't want to like go through that because like this stuff should also end up in there. Like, oh, we'll just do it later. We'll do it later. Okay, so here, if we want like remaining, this is gonna be the same like chambers, num chambers plus num chambers mod chambers per row, chambers per row minus this shit mod chambers per row. Again, I'm sure that there's a better way. But fuck it. I is less than remaining. Plus I. Here we're just gonna add a new empty chamber with the ID. So here we actually need to keep the ID externally here. So we need like let I equal 0 here. Right, and then can you do this in this language? Is this legal? Remaining is I plus this, I guess. Oh no, this is num chambers. This is not remaining. This is max. And empty chambers, I guess we'll call it. So then we pass in I here and chamber height. Maybe. Oopsies, why am I fucking... here we want to run our build, because certainly we are going to have fixes to make here. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. To be honest, I was expecting it to be way more broken than this, which is kind of funny because that's very fucking broken. But I was expecting worse. I was expecting worse. So the reason that this is happening is because like we allow chambers. We have say it's the responsibility of the chamber to clear its own memory. Because it would allow for people to do like delta encoding if they want, right? Like for these platform movements, you actually only need to render a few pixels every frame, right? So that's why that is the way it is. I haven't actually tried doing that yet, so I don't know if there's like other things that need to be done to make that work. But anyways, let's just let's fix that. So our empty chamber is just going to have to be responsible for clearing the canvas. So I guess when we say render empty chamber, this is just going to say like const ctx equal this get ctx. By the way, this is why it's so much fucking nicer to split things this way instead of trying to like hard code in the like if canvas is null in like that original render. This way it's like easy to like hard code stuff in. Not using no build JavaScript gross. I think all JavaScript is gross. Maybe I have it twisted, but like the concept of building your interpreted language seems like so fucking ass backwards to me. Like, I understand why people do it, right? Because it's like impossible to make a large JavaScript project because like there's no type checking and like even the runtime checking of stuff is just like so fucking insane that like it's almost unusable. So I kind of get that like it makes sense to use TypeScript so that you have like some sanity and then you compile that to JavaScript. But it's just like it's a fucking interpreted language. I shouldn't have to compile my interpreted language. That's fucking stupid. And so I refuse to. And then I get mad when I write lots of bugs. I hate TypeScript. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But then what the fuck is your build set for? Who needs builds if you're writing raw JavaScript? If you're raw dogging it, then like what are you building? You can tell I'm not a fucking web dev. How do I clear the canvas? I like fill rect from 0 to 0 to this canvas width, this canvas height. Oh, trust me, I'm a web dev and we hate it too. Okay, perfect. And then I think we have to say like ctx fill style is equal to white. Is that how I do this? I guess we'll find out. I don't even need to. I can just like raw refresh. That's kind of fun. Oh, there we go. Wait, that's kind of working. That's kind of working. Yeah, I'll take it. RSU should be begin path and end path or else you get mixed up. That does sound familiar. Fill rect MDN. In their example, is it a path though? They're not doing any in their examples here. They're not doing like if you look at like stroke, I think that their examples here. Oh, they don't do begin. When is begin path and end path necessary? Let's look. Start a new path by emptying the list of subpaths. So that they may be drawn with different colors. What do you mean so that they may be drawn with different colors? This is so like unclear what this is for. This empties the list of subpaths. Call this method when you want to create a new path. Okay, like is there an end path or is it just begin? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Doesn't look like there's an end path. Close path? Jesus, okay. Attempts to add a straight line. Oh, okay. So this is for if you're like trying to make some. I think I don't need it. That's my guess. My guess is that I don't need it. But we will keep an eye out for bugs and then get mad at ourselves for not doing the correct thing when it was suggested to us later. As always. As always. I have a tendency to ignore things that I think are like good practices. So that I intentionally so that I get bit by them, right? Like if I just did this and it turns out it wasn't necessary, then I'll never understand why, right? But if I do this now and I just get like fucked, then I'll be like, oh, okay, so that stroke is like it helps me build intuition on what it does. Yeah, Chad is always wrong. No, they're not always wrong. You guys get things right sometimes. It's happened. Okay. So it looks like that just kind of works, huh? I kind of went smoother than I expected, to be honest. Okay, so now that we have this, let's try to like add some like runtime chamber per row stuff. So I guess before we do that though, let's get status, get add dash u, get commit dash m smiley. I guess we'll name it. We'll name it. So this is a support non mod chambers per row. Good enough. Good enough. Okay. So now we want to be able to change the chambers per row at runtime. So I guess let's write down our timestamp. And let's look at the simulation. And here we have chambers per row. And this clearly will just have to become like a member variable here, right? And let's just set this to, I guess as a u size is equal to 2 for now. And we can just kind of start with all of the fucking compile errors that will come with that. So u29. So this now needs to be self chambers per row. Here and here. And here. This chamber layout now is going to have to take in chambers per row everywhere. So I kind of like the idea now, this chamber layout thing being kind of like stateful. I feel like it makes sense for us to have, now that we have like two things that we're going to be using everywhere, we can kind of say chambers per row is a u size, as well as num, what was the other one? Num chambers. And then we can just kind of here, we can take in self as chamber layout. And here we're going to say self dot. I guess technically this should be const, or maybe by value. That makes sense to me. Self dot. Up is self chamber layout. This gets self dot. Num chambers is now also self dot. Boom. And this is the same. Boom. Is that Emperor's New Groove? Emperor's New Groove. Yeah, it must be. No, not this one. Not this one. That's when they say, no, yeah, Is it this one? This, yeah, I think it's this.
Well, not today, pal.
Yeah. We didn't need to show you guys that, but it was in my head, so you guys get to see it. It's the way it always goes. Okay. Chamber layout is equal to chamber layout with, there's a PVC pipe effect going on there. I don't see it. So this guy, oh, the audio's being played twice. Oh, fuck me. That's probably because it's going through the recorded audio as well as the stream audio, which is annoying. That's my bad. It's fine. Okay. I'll consider that for later. Okay, so from ball and chamber, this guy is, I guess, going to take in the chamber layout now instead of num chambers. Does that make sense? Yeah, we can kind of make a chamber layout here. And he gets initialized with this. So this is self chambers per row. And num chambers is self padded. Do we not have like a padded chambers thing that we had earlier? Num chambers, we called it. Which is kind of like a deceiving name, actually, now that I think about it. Because it's not really the number of chambers. It's the number of, like, chamber spaces. But that's okay. And I guess we can do a little helper function here. Function layout is self a const simulation by value, because he will optimize that out. He's gonna return whatever the fuck I had in my paste buffer, which means that now I can fix this shit. And this is gonna return a chamber layout. There we go. Simple. It's simple. So now, where the fuck I was there, we can just say, where were we? Where were we? Here. Okay, fine. We'll call it chamber layout to avoid name collision. Cool. And this is actually the wrong spot. This guy is taking the layout here. And so all of these guys are going to turn into layout now. Layout, 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 layout. And then this doesn't feed these anymore. Boom, 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 boom. Cool, 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 cool. So now this guy he passes in the layout like this, which means that he says const layout is equal to self chamber layout. Boom. Okay. Then who else? Who else needs this? This thing. Apply wrap. So he'll just say const layout is equal to self chamber layout again. And all these guys get turned into layout. Boom, 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 boom. Remove that shit. Remove that shit. I forgot to break a parenthesis there. 239. So num chambers also needs to take this self in by value because he doesn't actually change anything. No field name chambers per row at 231. Really? Did I not add chambers per row right here? What does he mean there's no fucking chambers per row? What do you mean? There is, it's right here. It's right here. What are you talking about? I'm really lost. Did I spell it wrong? Chambers per row. Chamber per row, somebody's saying in chat. Oh, good eye. Good eye. I can't fucking spell. Thank you. Okay. Now this in server zig now needs to look at a runtime value. So where the fuck that is here. Self server app simulation. Boom. Which is a little gross, but that's fine. Good. Okay, this compiles now. And now what? I guess now we try changing the value. Not that should make it really, like, this is still compile time configuration, but that's okay. Let's just kind of see if it makes sense. Because I think that we need to, let's make it so that the client correctly adjusts to this, and then we should see, we can like add the interface to change the value in a second. So here, this is clearly not doing what we expect. So we can go into the index HTML. We have some grid template columns hard coded, and I guess we just need to change the grid template. So how the fuck does CSS grid work? Do I want to be so fucking sad that I go to CSS Tricks or W3 Schools, or do we just look at the MDN docs? This kind of looks like what I want. Can I like can we like CSS grid change? Okay. Well shut up, guys. Shut up. Can I adjust CSS grid columns from JavaScript? Shut up. Shut up. Okay. Yeah, okay. Shut up. Hurry up. Okay. Example of change to 2 columns. Okay, so do I really just have to fucking repeat the string that many times? What if there are like 99 columns, but a bitch ain't one? Okay, so you can. ChatGPT is claiming that I can put my repeat string in there. How come he didn't address the what a bitch ain't one? You didn't address that a bitch ain't one. Saying I see what you mean now is so funny. Dude, what a fucking dumbass. What do you mean? What do you mean you see what I mean now? What the fuck are you talking about? What a fucking dumbass, man. Okay. So he's uh someone in chat is saying that I can use a variable dash dash columns and set the columns variable with JavaScript. Dude, I cannot believe you do. Yeah, okay, that makes sense actually. So you're saying that we do like I can't remember how to do like CSS variables. So under right, they get like tied to something. So I stick it in the root is how I've done this before. And then we can just say like, or do I stick it here? I guess I stick it here. That kind of makes more sense. So here I say we have like num columns, and we just set this to like 2. And then here we say repeat num. Do I have to like wrap the thing with something to use it? Yeah, var. Num columns with 1 fr. So let's just see first if that's like fucking busted. That looks fucking busted. Do I have to put 1 fr in like quotes or something? No? Am I missing something? Oh, comma should be semicolon. Good eye. Thank you. God, I fucking hate the amount of like errors that this shit's willing to put up with. Yeah, it's better. Thank you. And then here we just kind of set this based off of what we see. Am I supposed to use JavaScript for this, by the way? Or am I supposed to like, do some sort of like fancy CSS to be like populate this with something that comes in from the network? Then how to like set this variable from JavaScript? Do I just say like, no, set CSS var from just. Set style property on some style. I see. Yep. Okay. So we like whoever typed exclamation mark IDE, it's just NeoVim. NeoVim with some LSPs. So this is gonna be what is it? Chamber? Chambers. So this is like style, I guess. Then we say style dot style set property num columns to chambers per row. Is that how this fucking works? We'll see. So if we set this to 1 and then we refresh our page, we should still see it at 3. If I set this to is it 3 right now? I can't remember. Let's take a look. So if we go into our what was it called? Simulation. We changed. Oh, it is 3. So we change this to 2, and then we rebuild the server so that that gets embedded. We refresh. Oh, yeah, okay, that seems like it's working. Cool. Thank you, whoever knows CSS. Robin Malfiet? I don't know if that's an I or an L. I can't fucking read, but thank you. Thank you. And I probably shouldn't say Iat, fate. Robin my fate. Robin my fate. Maybe it's a pun. Might be. Anyways. Okay. So now we just have to make it so that when we I guess we just add a put to that endpoint. I guess. Sure, yeah, let's do that. So we'll look at our server. Right now, he kind of just hard looks at these things. But I guess wherever he looks at chambers per row, now we're going to kind of have like a get chambers per row, a set chambers per row. And this set, I guess, will kind of hold the parameter we want to set with. So we kind of is that what we want to do? Is that what we want to do? Sure. Sure, that seems reasonable to me. The other option would be like to like do query parameters or something, but I don't think I want to do that. I don't think that makes as much sense. So here now we need to like know if we have a get or a put, which I don't think we like really store that information anywhere right now. But here we'll have to say like, what is it called? What are those things called? Like get, put, post. Like what is the name of the methods? Methods. Method. And do we have like a stood HTTP method? We do. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so then we can like say like if method is equal to stood HTTP method, I guess it's just dot get. Nice. We do whatever the fuck we were doing before. But if we have else if method is equal to put, we have this. Otherwise we return error no invalid method, I guess. Fuck it. And then here this turns into set chambers per row. And then here we have to actually, I guess we don't parse the body here. We don't really do that. So we'll just kind of say this is a void. That's fine. That's fine. That is fine. And then we have to, I guess, whoever calls this guy now needs to get the method. So does our reader store the method? No, but he can. Stood HTTP method. Boom. And I guess whoever sets this must, yes, hell yeah. We already have it. We already have it. We just weren't writing it down. So this just gets our fuck, reader method. Boom, boom. And then we need to handle set chambers per row. So set chambers per row. And we're kind of expecting that this thing just comes in as like a fucking number. So we should be able to look at like, I guess for now, we'll, how do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? Maybe we'll just say internal server error for now. And we'll say we return with some text HTML that's just like fucking empty. I guess. And then here we can start like logging stuff. So we can say stood format parse int into a usize. Yeah, sure, fuck it. And we're just gonna look at the reader buff. Sure. Yeah, we just expect a number in there, in the body. We expect a number in the body. Base 10. And yeah, just fuck it. Sure. Then we just say self server app simulation chambers pro. Yeah. Sure. And then we just say we're Gookie gang. And we have like nothing to really respond with, and I think that's probably fine. Maybe? I don't really know how this works. Sure. That seems not that unreasonable to me. I guess we could also send the same thing back. But I don't think we really need to do that. I don't think we need to do that. Okay, so let's maybe here, we're gonna have like a spinner somewhere, I guess. This is kind of like work in progress code. Eventually this will be hidden behind an admin panel because we don't want like everybody being able to do this. But for now, we'll just kind of say like input type equals integer number. Is this how you do JavaScript or HTML? Maybe. We'll say columns per row. I don't know if this is how I'm supposed to do this, or if this is supposed to get like a label, but we'll kind of see what it looks like. Columns per row, that seems okay. Sure. ID equals columns per row. Okay. Then in our JavaScript, we can just say that we're gonna want to like get that thing. Get that thing. So you're gonna say like chambers per row spinner is equal to document get element by ID chambers per row. Then we have to do some sort of like spinner on change equals on tab on change is equal to something. I don't know. Probably get some sort of event associated with it. I don't know. And then probably we need to set like his initial value. Is this console log? Wait, let's just maybe we inspect it. Inspect. Then can I say like use in console? What the fuck is this thing? How do I like set his value? Value. Yeah. So chambers per row spinner value is equal to chambers per row. Yeah, okay, let's just see what that does. Fuck. Right, because no, I don't really know what failed here. Network error when attempting to fetch resource. Oh, is the server not running? It's running. What the fuck? What's he bitching about? Oh, something didn't compile. Missing struct field method. So HTTP zig. Oh, right. So his initial value has to be set to something. So I guess we just set it to like get. It doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, so refresh. Oh, chambers per row spinner is null. Really? It's columns row. Chambers per row. I'll do it. Okay. So now this says 2, which is good for us. And we hit this and we get a change. And I guess I just look at target value. I guess. That seems reasonable. And we all know that when we write JavaScript, what is reasonable is what we should do. Okay, so here we want to basically construct some sort of fetch that sets this thing, which kind of means that this has to be async, I guess. And we're gonna call fetch with how the fuck do you use fetch put JavaScript? Put. Okay. This so this is at the body, sure. Oh, it's the method. Okay, cool. So this is I fetch the request. So we have like new request to chambers per row, and then we say method is post, no, put, and body is just the number. So is this how you string cast in this language? I think it is. Fucking JavaScript, man. Okay. And then we fetch this thing. So this is const request is equal to this. We await the request. We say const response is equal to this. And then I guess this throws if this fails, right? So we're chilling. You can also just do fetch with the parameters inside. I see. So I could have done like this. Yeah, well, that's fine. We've already written it, so it is what it is. And then I guess if this succeeds, this throws if it 404s, right? I guess it doesn't fucking matter. Then we set the CSS property, which was here. So I guess we kind of put this up here so that we can do style set property num columns is ev target value. Boom. Or toString. Oh, fancy. That makes way more sense. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Oh, balls is undefined. Fuck. Network error and fail when trying to fetch resource. Fuck. Refresh. Enter. This whole thing is like fucked up now. What the fuck happened? It feels like the client side is like fucked. Okay, so this works. 3. Okay, refresh. It still is 3, 2, 1. Okay, I don't know why it was so fucked. And I guess I should set the minimum value, huh? Which means I guess that on the client side or on the server side, I should just say like fuck off, don't set this to 0. If I think it's invalid, I shouldn't trust client side validation because y'all will fuck with me. Y'all will fuck with me. So, if chambers per row is less than 0, less than 1, not that you guys will be able to fuck with me because this should be eventually behind admin UI, but just in case. Invalid. We'll just call it stood log error. Incorrect number of chambers. Invalid chambers per row. Do I even want to log on this? Like, it kind of seems silly to log on this because if anybody just types this in, like, it's not really an error. My server's handling it correctly. So maybe I do just kind of ignore it. Seems fine. Okay, so we start here. Let's just see. We should see some sort of like bullshit happen when we set it to 0 now. Hopefully. So we set this to 0. We do get an exception, and this doesn't get changed, which is really good for us. And we set to 1, and we're chilling. Okay, that's good for us. And I guess that kind of means that, like, we don't even really have to worry about it. Like, we could limit it here, but we don't have to. Because the website just kind of keeps working. Yeah. Wait, this is fucked. What's happening here? This is broken again, I guess? Kind of weirdly, it feels like the physics is doing the right thing, like it's responding to the change, but our client is just not really rendering the empty chamber anymore. Very strange. If I refresh, even stranger. Even stranger. What the fuck? So after adjusting the layout, the balls aren't rendered in the fucking view anymore? Why the fuck not? Are they coming in at all? Is it like a server-side bug? No? What the fuck? What a strange bug. Balls is undefined in render empty chamber. Okay. I guess we can just try again. That seems like maybe reasonable. So I guess like for some reason. Well, we'll see if that fixes it. Very strange. Very, very strange. What's that ID? It's just Neovim. Just Neovim. I don't understand why that failed, to be honest. It's very strange. I guess maybe like we were like executing too many requests at the same time or something. We get like pushed over the edge by this. I don't like the fact that this is jumping around when I click it. That's fucking annoying. But it's fine. It's good enough for now. This is debug code, so I shouldn't think too much about it. We'll just kind of call this a day. Call this one a day, and we'll move on. So chamber positions. How do I want to do this? Is it because the server is not sending the empty chamber when the padding is no longer needed, so the client tries to refresh it? Oh, interesting. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Uh, no, because oh yeah, good eye, good eye. So if I crank this up to like 9, I actually need to refresh to get all those empty chambers. Yeah. Good thought. Good thought. And so really, we actually need to clear and re-add the empty chambers or something when we change this. But I don't want to. I think that I can deal with that just being broken for now and move on because I think that like I don't really want. It's just more state to deal with that I don't want to fucking figure out right now. I want to look at number of balls next. I think chamber positions. I'm not super worried about quite yet. Um, I need to like yeah. I think the number of balls is a bigger problem. A bigger problem. So let's do that first. Okay. So let's get add dash u, get commit dash m, get commit. Call this runtime chamber per row adjustment, and then we'll say fix me clear empty chambers in client on change. I'll fix it off screen. I'll fix it off screen. It's good enough for now. Okay. Okay. So number of balls. So the way that like our WebAssembly model works is like when we load a chamber, we like kind of load this chamber and it's like platforms. And like one of the first things that we do is we set like we try to like get the memory. We ask him to like give us some memory to like do stuff with. And so one of the things that we give him is like ball memory. And so when we initialize this module, we kind of like init with like, max balls. And so I guess what we can do right now is we can kind of like still kind of set like a hard coded upper bound, but allow us to like change how many are actually part of the simulation. Kind of without that. I think that makes sense. Because like I think that's just like a simpler path forward. Otherwise, we would have to like implement APIs for our chambers to like reallocate if we go over the limit, and I just don't want to deal with that. So here we have like init chamber somewhere, and we'll change this to max numballs here. Let's think about this. Do I want this? Should still probably be like this could be runtime allocated here, I guess. I think that makes sense. Sure. I'm not really sure what the consequence of that will be. We'll set this to like 100. We'll just kind of see what happens there. Okay, so here, when we construct this thing, we are now saying that these are like runtime allocated, which kind of means that in our DInit, we need like self balls, self alloc free self balls. I guess if we're going to be like appending, if we're going to be like runtime adjusting this often, like at some API call, maybe making these array lists is simpler because then I don't have to like handle the reallocation myself. I kind of like that. So we'll do this. Yeah. Okay. So then we can kind of just initialize these guys to nothing, which is maybe not quite what we want, actually. We probably want to like force ourselves to set some sort of default. So maybe we'll set like default numballs as well to like 5. And then initially we can set this to like const balls is stood array list unmanaged of ball error defer balls dinit with alloc. Makes sense. Oh, make balls. We already have this. Okay. So make balls returns num balls. This is just going to return a slice of balls now, which means he's going to have to take in an allocator. But this isn't even what we want. We want this to be more like populate, or like populate balls. Make balls, because this is called on reset as well, which is why I'm thinking of this. So I think it might make more sense to be like, call this randomize balls, and he can take in like the balls themselves. So we can call this like ball like this. And we should also randomize the chamber IDs here while we're here. Chamber IDs like this. And he will just return nothing now, I guess. So then he can go for like ball in balls. He's just going to set like 4 balls. Does he need the index here? Is he using that for anything? No. So we can just say like ball. And then we can say ball is equal to this thing. And then we also will want to loop over the chamber IDs and randomize those. So this is going to be chamber ID. And here we're going to set the chamber ID to like some random number between int range at most, I think is what we want. Returns an evenly distributed random integer from at least to at most, both inclusive. So it's going to be 0 to chamber. We have to pass in num chambers here as well, I guess. So 0 to num chambers. There we go. There we go. There we go. So now I guess what we will do is we'll say const var balls is equal to stood array list unmanaged of ball. Well, in it with like some buffer, which is just going to be like 1 ball default initialized multiplied by default num balls. Is that how this works? Error defer balls dinit with the allocator. Boom. Then we're going to do this again with can I like init uninitialized? Is that like something we can do? Can we just like set len? Surely we can, right? Zig standard library. In here, certainly there is some. Hello? Where is my fucking API docs? Here. Surely one of the things in here is like adjust the length. Resize? Yeah. Okay, so we want to init it with some capacity. And that capacity is just default numballs. Then we, or I guess we, does resize adjust the capacity for us? It does. So maybe we just initialize this as like default. And then balls resize default numballs. That feels right. And then we do the same thing with the chamber ball chambers, except this is going to be U sizes. We resize them both. To default num balls, and then we say randomize balls with our PRNG, as well as all the other stuff. We had balls. Oh, I guess on init we have no chambers, which is kind of interesting. But I guess we will just kind of put them all in chamber ID 1 up front. And then when we add our first chamber, it should kind of work itself out. But we'll see. Might not. It might not. Then we get balls, balls, ball chambers, ball chambers. Boom. Okay. Surely this doesn't compile. I'm new here. What language is this? This is Zig. This is Zig. Which is like a lot like C. It's like in my mind what C++ could have been, is how I think about it. This should be initialized with the maximum number of balls. And what else here? Make balls. This make balls has to be converted to the randomized balls call as well. So this just becomes randomized balls like this, and this gets led with self. Okay, undeclared identifier PRNG, so I think it's self.prng. Do I prefer Zig to Rust? I think I'm not gonna. I think that prefer is like maybe the wrong axis to think about this on. I think it's like they're different, and I think that at this point in time, I am really enjoying writing Zig more than I enjoy writing Rust. But I don't know if like prefer is the right word necessarily. Use your seed to randomize your balls. Thank you. That is helpful and a contribution for sure. And you are right that I did type something very similar to that. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that like in the same like it's like if you were to say like how to say it? Like I think Zig is to C as Rust is to C++, I guess. Almost. Not quite, but you could think of it that way. And so like, you know, there's differences between them and the different viewpoints are valid, right? I think like Zig's a lot more like pragmatic and a lot more like do what you want. I'm not going to stop you. Right? And Rust is a lot more like I, the person who wrote this class, know best and fuck you if you try to do anything else. Right? Which is like really that's a very useful like concept to have, right? If you're working in a team and you don't want like some guy to just come in and do something fucked and like break everything, like having like a really strong API is really good for that. Even if you're working by yourself, right? And you just like you know that you're the type of person that's gonna just like okay, so when you see me very, very often just like randomly type stuff into the terminal, and if it works, then I'm like, yep, that works, right? And so like Rust is really good for that because I'm never gonna be able to type something that's not correct, right? The way that the whole infrastructure of that language is that like you make it impossible to represent invalid states and stuff, right? But that comes at a cost, which is like flexibility and ability to like just bang stuff out. And so it really depends on like what your value for a given project, right? And often like forcing correctness makes overall time to develop something go down, right? Because like if you don't have some random fucking seg faults, then you can't waste time on random fucking seg faults, right? But sometimes that's not the case, right? Sometimes you just want to like try something and like Rust really gets in your way and that's frustrating. And so like I don't know if like I can't say I prefer one or the other necessarily, but like they're different. And I'm enjoying Zig right now. Sorry for the rant. It's not really necessarily what you were asking for. Where? Oh, it's coming here probably. And then 353. Range at most is supposed to be. I'm looking for a U size. Then self balls at 275 is looking for self balls items. Physics ball is not. Oh, this needs to be like this now. And then 276. This is items, which probably means that when we reassign down here, it also needs to be items. Boom. And we're getting closer. Here, there's probably something at like 133. Right, so this is self balls D in it with self alloc and self chamber ball chambers D in it with self alloc. There we go. Are we there? Okay. So now we have this like balls and balls chambers thing, And so we should be able to just make some function that's like pub function set numballs, right? And I guess we just kind of say like uh, if numballs is less than or equal to self balls items len, we're chilling. We could just do self balls. Can we like shrink and free? What does this do? Reduce the allocated capacity to new len. No, that's not really what I want. I don't want the allocated capacity. I just want like a resize that only goes down so that I don't have to worry about shrink retaining capacity. That's what I want. So this is num balls. And then self, what is this called? Ball chambers. And return. Now the gross case is a little harder because we have to keep these like array sizes the same. So we have to do something like balls resize to num balls. And then we have to do self, I guess, error defer. We shrink back to the old capacity. So const initial capacity, initial length, equals self balls items len. Then we resize back down to the initial len, which I think makes sense. Then we do self ball chambers resize to num balls. And we do the same thing here. And then we say randomize balls, and this is unfailable. And we say use our self RNG PRNG. Yep. And then we are only randomizing like the new balls. So we can do like self balls items from initial len onwards and self ball chambers items from initial len onwards. That feels like it might work. Yeah. That feels like it might work. And we allow them to go into the empty chamber. I think that's fine as well. Yeah, fuck it, sure. Which means that now we need to like hook this up some way. Well, first let's try to build. It builds, but I think that, well, even if it builds, it's not really guaranteed that it's correct because it just doesn't build any functions that aren't called. I guess here we're gonna want like numballs. And in the same way that we had this, we're gonna want like the same numballs thing get set to numballs or set numballs, because our client is gonna have to see how many balls there are initially. Which means that up here we need like numballs and set numballs as like actions that we can try to process. Which means that over here we need like to handle those things. So we can kind of like just kind of I guess put it here. So numballs, 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 numballs. Something about this is screaming should be factored out, right? Something that just like returns a fucking number as like an HTTP writer. It seems to be common, very common. Then this is also going to look very similar. This is going to say numballs is that. If numballs is less than 1, maybe that's fine. We can allow 0, so we'll allow it. We'll allow it. We set numballs to numballs. No. Ooh, sketchy. Sketchy, sketchy, sketchy. Here we say set numballs to numballs. Much better. And then we respond with nothing. Blaze it. Which means, okay, so in our index JavaScript, we are going to get the initial number of balls somewhere. Num balls response, num balls response. We are going to set something to that. So we're going to look at like document get element by ID num balls spinner. This is coming together, maybe. So the numball spinner, and we just say numball spinner value is equal to numballs, and then we say numball spinner on change. Whatever the fuck we were doing before for the other thing. This. So this just goes to numballs now. And I guess this needs to be, this doesn't need to be async because we don't need to like handle anything when it's done. Chill. Now we just need to make this spinner. So, balls. Number of balls. We've said none balls how many times in the last like minute and a half? It's been a lot. But we really did have to say we thought none balls that many times as well. Fuck. No field, none balls, right? Because of course not. Of course there isn't. This was called something else. It's the balls items len. Much better. So replace maze with the balls counter with whisper. That's pretty funny. I like it. I like it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it, but it's a funny concept. This needs an allocator. This needs an allocator. The shrinks do not, I think. Expected type void found out of memory. So set num balls is failable, right? Which makes sense. Which means over here, when we try to set num balls, we need to write try. All right, chillin'. Okay, so now we refresh this thing. And we have... that did jack shit. Huh. 10. What's hello? Console? Network? 10. EV is not defined because I didn't write EV. That'll do it. And I guess I shouldn't stop the server, huh? I should run the server over here, and then I can just start refreshing. Here we go. EV. Refresh. All right, let's try again. 6, 7, 8. Is that working? I think it's working. I mean, that's a lot more than the initial number of balls, I'll tell you that much. And we can go, like, if we go 150, 1000. So we have a problem here where we need to cap it at the number of balls that we requested. So if num balls is greater than max num balls, return error invalid. Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. And then there will be no indication to the user, but it won't assign, which is good. Cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now I want this same thing to be available in like individual chamber testing. Oops, maybe that one's no good. What's going on here? This camp. Oh, we kind of broke this earlier, huh? So the local test one, this needs to be render populated chamber instead of render. That should fix this, I think. Yeah, it does look like it. But now there are no balls, which is kind of funny. Which is kind of, well, there's a bug here somewhere. Refresh console. Let's kind of see. So this is fine. It's possible that we're just instantiating with 0 balls in this path. How do we test that? So we asked the WASM module for the current state somewhere. Somewhere. Here, get balls. Let's kind of just look at what this says. Console log stir. What does this look like? Oh, so this is giving us stuff? And it's just like not rendering them, which is kind of surprising. And then also like out of range index at here is also kind of surprising. Yeah, what the fuck? I don't understand what's happening here, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Okay, so we can look at platforms. What the fuck is going on here? We init this thing with max balls. Okay. On each step. It's not like we're allocating anything. We are returning balls in simulation WASM. We are getting the current state. We are feeding it into this buffer. Okay. Okay, I don't see any problem there. Why is it like not rendering them? Their positions are not good. Surprisingly. Right? All of their Y positions are like negative. And their X positions are also negative. So something here is fucked up. Where do these ball positions come from? So here we like initialize this thing, we add one chamber. And then we like step the thing. Okay, so we add our one chamber. We init chamber and then we append. Two self chambers. I wonder if there's like the balls have been like falling forever or something up until this point. No, because when we have zero chambers, we don't do physics. But we do, I guess, put balls into the simulation. I'm curious just to see what happens if we randomize the balls after we append a chamber. I'm just curious. You guys are funny. You guys are so funny. Balls are way off. The balls are way, way off. Yes. You guys are funny. We get it. I should just call them something else. Okay, so I refresh here and I say, please run this. So even then, they are still just like immediately going off screen, huh? Oh no, wait. These are E-1, not negative numbers. I'm just high. I'm just stupid. Okay, so E-1 is just like these are correct numbers. Oopies. Okay, so then why the fuck aren't they rendering? So let's get back rid of this, and we'll go to chamber test. So we feed the balls in here, get balls, return const obj is equal to this, I guess, and then return obj. I was seeing like the word items in there, which is maybe confusing it. Maybe. Let's take a look-sees. Okay, so here our object has items, which is an array. So it does kind of feel like it should be returning objects. Oh, that does fix it, huh? Some of these balls are just falling through the fucking ceiling. If mathematicians can talk about balls and be mature about it, so can we be better chat. Well, I mean, you guys can talk about balls all you want. It's just funny for me to get angry about it. So only one of these is getting like fed into the chamber, huh? Which is very strange. That's very, very strange. So this gets like initialized here. We initialize the chamber. We add a chamber. How does this like know when we initialize this thing? We initialize. Here we add the chamber, and we init the chamber with max number of balls. Okay. They're so fast they skip collision. I think it's more likely that they're just like in the wrong chamber or something. Yeah, this should say 0. Or this randomize of chamber should be, this is inclusive. So this should be num chambers minus 1. I think that's why it was broken. I think we were like putting chambers, I was putting balls in a chamber that doesn't exist in the simulation. Oh yeah, that feels better. Except this one's still fucking busted. When they're rolling, oh, they're all rolling off the edge into like some other chamber. So our wrapping is wrong when our size is 1, maybe? So we get the chamber layout here. And we call layout right or layout left, if the number of chambers is 1, we have a problem, right? So chambers per row here is starting at 2. And so we're kind of like saying like move to the right. And he's getting out of bounds. Oh, so this right up, these guys need to all handle the fact that the number of chambers might be out of bounds. So here we should do something like can we just do like this mod num chambers? Feels like that's right. But it might not be. These guys, the vertical ones handle this correctly already. So let's just try this again. Will a ball simulation be formally proven using cock? I don't think that we need to formally prove anything for this like toy, right? Seems a little extreme. They are still kind of getting into this fucked state when they roll off the side. It's funny because cock. Oh, good one, guys. Good one. Good one. Good one. Good one. Fuck. So why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Ball chamber. Can we maybe log the ball chamber here? Log error ball chamber. You guys are funny. That's nuts. Good one. Good one. They'll never stop. It's gonna happen forever and ever. Oh yeah, so some of these guys are ending up in ball chamber 1, which seems fucked. Is it because mod 1 is not okay? Yeah, that's probably why. Right? One mod. No, I would think that mod 1. Oh, but this is using the fucking. The padded version. This is using the padded version. So this is actually maybe just all fine. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I undid too many times. So I guess like in the world where we're expecting to pad ourselves, then that makes sense. So I guess it really makes more sense that our simulation, our like WASM test simulation, should just set the number of balls or set the chambers per row to equal 1. That probably fixes this better. Yeah, that feels like it'll be right. I mean, what do I know? But oh yeah, that feels better. That feels better. Cool. Okay. Um. Okay, I don't want to. I still don't feel like doing chamber sim positions. That feels like more work than I'm willing to do right now. So I think we'll just do one last thing, which is change the runtime speed in this simulation here, which should be like very fast, very fast. So look at we're at 1:45:40, so that should get us almost perfectly into the 2-hour mark. And so I think that probably we want like some sort of speed slider here. So we're gonna look at chamber test.js. And actually, let's git add -u, git commit -m, smiley face. I don't really want to think about it right now. And in like chamber test HTML, we should be able to have like, what's like a, do we, is, blah, words. Is there like a slider in HTML? Is there? Yeah, there is. So this is just range. Okay. Min. Can I like float step it? Or is this just like an integer? And then I convert it to a float after. It does look kind of like integer-y. So sure, we'll kind of say that like I guess we could do like 0 to 100, and this is going to be like percentage of the maximum speed. So we're not going to support necessarily speeding up, but we will support speeding down. Speeding down. And this is going to be the like speed. Okay. So when that thing is changed, we're going to say like, okay, we're going to look at like the speed slider is document get element document get element by ID slider speed. And then we have like speed slider on change is equal to something, takes an event, he like does something with the event, he's gonna look at the event like target value, and he's gonna divide that by 100, and he's gonna set that as the body. There's no body here. This is just going to go into our like client side simulation right now. We're working on the client side one first. So we're gonna say like set speed. It's gonna take in a like ratio. And he's just gonna say like simulation speed speed is equal to a ratio. Sure. Which means that our simulation needs a speed on him. Which is gonna be a float. This steplen thing. Let me think about this. So the way that the speed works right now is we like kind of like try to move forwards until we hit this like desired step position. And if we change the speed, then like if we slow it down, we might just like stop for a while until this catches up, right? Because if we're kind of going around, we're going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And we're at like time 6 right now. And then we like slow it down and we say, okay, well we only want to be at like position 3 now because we were like slower. Now all of this stuff we have to wait until we get to like whatever the equivalent of 6 is over here. It's not very well explained, but I hope that makes sense. Because like we're only tracking like steps taken from the beginning. And so we kind of need to like adjust that in some way. So we kind of need like some sort of like step adjustment, which is like, okay, so we we want to have taken like 100 steps right now. Now we've taken 100 steps, and from the start of time we expected to have taken like 50 steps. No, this shouldn't live here. This shouldn't live here. This should live here. Yeah. And so here, every time we do step until, we will like adjust. We'll look at the step adjustment value. So we'll say here. So we'll say simulation. So this is like effective steps taken is going to equal the int cast of step simulation num steps taken. This is going to be an I64 and variable. We're going to say like effective like this. Effective num steps taken plus equals the step adjustment. Okay. And then we'll say if the step effective num steps taken is less than this, then we continue. Okay. So now we say that this is divided by, I guess, like, does the simulation own the speed? Kind of not. The simulation doesn't even know that like it's running at a given rate. We kind of want to just like, maybe we just track this whole thing externally. Maybe. So we can say here speed is f32 equal 1.0. So every time we set the speed now, we have to like set this step adjustment. So we're gonna look at like simulation num steps taken. We want like taken plus adjustment is equal to whatever the fuck this is. So I guess when we set the speed, we kind of need to know our current timestamp, or we could just use the last timestamp. We could do that. And then here, just every time we step, we just say last time equal time s. Just kind of like lame, but it's what it is. So then we can kind of say like last time. Okay, yeah, so taken plus adjustment is equal to desired num steps taken. And this gets this whole thing gets like multiplied by the ratio. I think that makes sense. Which kind of means up here, this also gets us to get multiplied by like speed. So if it gets, let me think about this. A smaller number gets smaller, which is what we want. We want this to be smaller. Yeah. So then the adjustment is just equal to the desired num steps taken minus num steps taken. Sure. I don't know if that feels right. Int cast like this. And then we can say desired num steps taken is like an I64 here. And we do like a minus equals there, so the int cast knows where to go. Maybe. I'm not like 100% sure that this won't work. But we'll see. I guess in our chamber test, we need to set the speed here. So simulation instance exports set speed to this value. And I guess we'll just see what happens. Nothing's happening. It's fucking busted. It's, oh my god, it's so busted right now. Why? Okay, let's just kind of like pretend that we haven't done anything here. Kind of like take this away and say like turn this to const. Okay. Refresh. Stop. go. Control W, Control Shift D, browse. Yeah, it's just like hard hanging. I feel like I didn't really change that much. Okay, if we get stash, zig build, Control W, Control Shift T, refresh, browse, Plinko. Oh, this is busted too. How long has this been busted for? Wasn't this just working? What the fuck? Why is this broken all of a sudden? So we only got the value, we only got one set of objects here? And if we hit pause here, does it like, can we interrupt WASM modules here, or does this just get like fucked? Oh, looks like fucked. Okay. We might as well get stash pop because like it's busted anyways. And I guess we just have to start fucking bisecting. Where the fuck is this spending all its time? Like, if we comment out this, I'm assuming that it's fine. I'm assuming, but I make an ass of me and me. I also don't know if it's like using like cached files, which also make be like adding to the confusion. So can we like network disable cache? Cache is disabled here, which is good. That's great for us. Okay, so now at the very least, it's not like stuck. So that step until is the problem. So we are saying, oh, this will do it, huh? The fact that this is just like an infinite loop, that would in fact do it. That would do it. So we want to do this. I guess we say if effective steps taken is greater than equal to desired num step taken, return. That did in fact look like an infinite loop. Okay, refresh. Okay, the page is responding now, at least a little bit. It's saying simulation is not defined. The fuck? I guess it isn't defined, which is true. Okay. So how the fuck am I supposed to? Where? Oh, this dot simulation. There's no this though. So I'm just fucking high, I guess. I guess this just is broken, but that's okay. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. Can we say here, simulation null, and then here, instead of saying const simulation, we just make the simulation here. And then here, these simulations should exist. I don't need to build. I don't know why I'm building. Now what's that? What's it complaining about? Assignment to undeclared variable simulation. I did forget to write var, huh? Okay. So now this isn't like crashing, but it's still just making no progress, which I don't understand. Reset is still resetting. Okay. So why the fuck is it making no progress? Probably because I got that condition backwards. Almost certainly. No. So our desired num step taken is going to be like the current time over something. The effective num step taken is, let's just make it num steps taken. If the num steps taken is greater than the desired num step taken, we stop. Otherwise, we keep going. Okay. Okay. Should work. So hard refresh. Blinko. Am I fucking high? Effective steps taken is a number, and desired is a number. And this is effective steps taken and desired num steps taken. Like, what am I fucking missing? Feels like it's so obvious. Feels like it's so obvious. Refresh. He's not printing shit. Maybe that's related. Is this not getting refreshed when I build and run again? Maybe it's not. And then can we also get rid of this fucking console log here? It's fucking annoying. So, browse, Plinko. Browse, Plinko. Yeah, it is just not logging anything, but maybe... Okay, let's just full reset the server. I kind of thought that rebuilding... I thought the simulation was fetched on every refresh here, but maybe it's not. I don't know, it's still not printing shit. I don't understand. Fuck! I hate being stupid, man. Okay. So now this, okay, it's running again, thank God. And we just have to fucking make it so that when I drag that slider, it actually does something. So this is time speed. This is gets the step adjustment applied. And hopefully that's enough. God fucking damn it. This needs to be var. God damn it, man. Sometimes we're stupid. Okay. It doesn't seem like this is changing jack shit. Let's just double check that this is being called at all. So we can say stood log error ratio is a ratio. Let's just see what the fuck is happening here. And I'm pretty sure I guess let's log here as well, just to prove to ourselves that we're seeing the changes that we want to see. Like, the fucking module is in the fucking most recent state. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. Okay, so we just, right, the simulation, I guess it gets embedded in the server, but it does look like this is working now. This is kind of what I wanted. Okay. Cool. It's kind of fun. Kind of fun. All right, guys. I think that's enough for today. I think we have accomplished a fair amount of configuration. There's a little bit of cleanup that needs to be done, but no big dealio. But I think I'm going to call it there for today. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, we stream most days around 2 o'clock Pacific time for around 2 hours. We do a pre-stream as well, where some of like the stuff that we kind of left on the back burner for today, that'll kind of get covered in like tomorrow's pre-stream that starts at around like 12:30 Pacific time instead. If you're new here, there's a YouTube link in the Twitch description where we have our whatever, all the VODs get archived for the mainstream, organized by playlist. So there's, if you want to check out like, operating system, previous streams on this thing, QR code decoder, there's stuff in there, terminal emulator. There's a lot of fun stuff in there if you want to go check it out. There's a GitHub link in the Twitch description as well, where code for this will eventually go up. And if you want to see archived pre-stream shows, those are available on Patreon. So, what else? Like, subscribe, Twitch Prime, you guys know the dealio. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, YouTube and Twitch. Let's find someone to raid.